Ugh. How do people have hair that actually like works with dry shampoo? Like this dry shampoo I bought, I got some of that Batiste or whatever. It works better than most dry shampoos, but still, my hair looks like I haven't washed it in weeks. So today we're gonna do a book tag. It's the mid-year book freak out or whatever it's called that I first saw on Emily Fox's channel. I'll post it down below. I guess let's get to it. It's 13 questions. The first question is best book you've read so far in 2020. There are two books. They're part of a series. Oh my goodness, Skyward and Starsight. I was gonna get this mixed up. By Brandon Sanderson. I'm not gonna say much here because it's gonna come up a lot on this list. But yeah, they're definitely the best books I've read so far this year. So yeah, they're definitely the best books I've read so far this year, and you will see that because I'm going to talk about them for just about every freaking question. This is actually the second time I've recorded this today. I recorded it earlier. When I went to go and edit, I realized that my hair was doing some weird things, and I looked like I had been run over by a car. So here we go. Number 2 is best sequel you've read so far in 2020. It's gotta be Starsight, the sequel to Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I just really liked it. I really enjoy the growth that Spencer has had over the first book and the second book. I liked the sort of more space politics of the second one. The first book was more sort of like training, and this main character is kind of an outcast, and she really wants to fight in like the space army military, and just everybody's really against it, and she proves herself. And then the second book, she's having to infiltrate this like enemy base basically, and by impersonating this alien that landed, and there's a lot of politics, and just I get some more Mbot. I'm really glad she brought Mbot with her. I'm annoyed she couldn't ride him. We didn't see Mbot as much as I would like, and then Mbot had problems, and we'll talk about that later on because that's a question too. So yeah, it just it had a good sort of moral, I guess, of like you know, we shouldn't judge a like group for like one problem. Everything's a lot more complicated, you know. I'm not explaining it very well, but I just thought it was really good. So I would definitely suggest reading their YAs, sci-fi books with, at least the first one had very little romance. There's a little bit of, tiny little bit of romance in the second one, which honestly I could have lived without. I don't like the pairing. One of those pairings where you're like, oh, they're gonna get together, and you don't want them together. I don't know. I just think that Spencer would be better if she was like single and not, I don't know. It is what it is. Question number 3 is new release you haven't read yet but want to. That's 8 Perfect Murders by Malcolm Swanson. I've had this book on my holds, like my library holds, for a while, and I was kind of getting near to like being number 1 for it, and then the library's closed. They are currently reopening, so things will start moving. But it's definitely a mystery novel that I am interested in. Basically, this guy is committing murders based on murders from like other, like, from books. And a lot of the murders are books I've read. And so I like that sort of when you kind of, you know, weave in that stuff together. So that's should be very interesting. I've been wanting to read it. I know people have read it, said it's... Have they read it? I knew it was coming out around the time that, like, COVID kind of, like, shut down everything, so... Did it? I don't honestly remember. Pretty much this year is pre-COVID, and that's, like, 2020, and we're in, like, 2020 point B, and eventually we'll get point C, and then maybe we'll get to 2021. Who the heck knows? But that's that. Number 4 is the most anticipated release for second half of the year, and I think that's probably Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. It's the third in the Morgan Crow series. I know it's rumored to be released later on in 2020. I hope that it is. I'm excited to continue on. It's a good series. I don't like it as much as I like Brandon Sanderson's series, which that's not coming out till like 2021 or 2022, if we ever make it there. So yeah, that's that. I'm excited to see where Morgan goes in her adventures. Number 5 is The Biggest Disappointment. I think I'm gonna have to go with The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan and like whoever the illustrator and adapter was, because I did the graphic novel version of it, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the illustrations. I didn't like the adaptation. It just sort of skipped over a lot of like important scenes and action and whatnot that we missed if you had read the books. And I had read all the Percy Jackson series, and so I was just very sort of... It was just disappointing. I was expecting it to be good. I enjoy the Percy Jackson series. I was thinking, you know, it would be an easy way to kind of reread them because I've been wanting to reread them again. But what is happening here? Sorry, I got very distracted by my head. So yeah, that was disappointing for me. Biggest surprise is number 6, and I have 2 of them. The first one, I wouldn't necessarily consider it like a big surprise, but I guess on the surface, The City of Dreaming Books by Walter Moores doesn't sound like it would be good. You sound like it might be kind of weird. It's about a dinosaur. Okay, already we're off in weird land. Who is traveling to a city called Bookholm, also known as the City of Dreaming Books, to find the author of this manuscript that is like the best manuscript ever. Like, you read it, you're just overcome by it. You're swept with all these emotions, and it's just so brilliantly grand, and he has to find out who wrote it. His grandfather, his authorial grandfather, was like, that was his like last like dying wish. And you know, that on the surface sounds kind of weird, but no, it was actually very good. I enjoyed the journey. I enjoyed kind of the pathing. You kind of, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it, and I really would like a bookling as a companion, or yeah, like a companion. And I think it would probably... I know I said J.K. Rowling in the last video, like my May reads, but well, she's kind of not my favorite person right now. So I guess I would have to go with Brandon Sanderson, or maybe like Jane Austen or something. Like, that would be the author that it would like memorize. So then I could just like read, you know, tell me these stories whenever I wanted it. I think that'd be awesome.
So I realized while editing that I only talked about one of the two books. So here is an insert of like the original video before I reshot it for this one. So sorry I look like
And the
trash.
second one so far that's been a big surprise is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. It was part of my rereading books I hated in school series. I remember just absolutely trashing this book. I hated it. I didn't even really read it. I, spark noted most of it. And so I was just absolutely positively dreading rereading it. And I ended up really liking it. I ended up giving it, I think it was 5 stars, 4.5. It was somewhere in there. And it's probably one of my new favorite books. And that blows my bloody mind that I am saying that. You would have asked me back in 11th grade if I would think that's one of my favorite books. I would have been like, are you effing crazy? And so here we are. Number 7, favorite new author. It's either debut or new to you. Brandon Sanderson. Yeah, I read the first of the Mistborn trilogy back in February, plus Star, Sight, and Skyward. I tried to read the first book of The Reckoners and I didn't really like it, and I think it's because the main character was male. And I don't know, like, it's unusual to find a like a sci-fi, like a male sci-fi fantasy writer who writes good females. But Brandon Sanderson actually does a pretty good job. Sometimes it's a little iffy, but it's not like those like Tumblr blogs that you see where it's like, capturing like paragraphs of books written by men where it's like Susan wakes up in the morning, her barely there tank top stretches tautly over her body as she stretches in front of the mirror, grateful for her huge tits. Things like that. So you don't get that, and I like that. But the females are strong. They're mostly independent. Which I think is why I had a hard time. Or it's just which is why I had a hard time with the second in the Mistborn series, because it kind of shifts to a male narrator, and I just didn't like it as much. I just don't like his male voices, and I don't know if The Way of Kings is a male narrator, but that's supposed to be like Brandon Sanderson's like best book or best series. So I guess I'll give that a try too. Well, I know that I will when we get to question 13. Number 8 is newest fictional crush. I don't really have one. Not that I can think of. No, not really. I mean, I really love Mbot, but I wouldn't say I have a crush on him. It'd be weird to say you have a crush on a a robot with, or no, it's not a robot, a spaceship with AI. So no, not really. But Mbot is my new favorite character. And I am very heartbroken and very distraught over events that happens at the end of Starsight, and I will be distraught and unhappy and obsessive about it until book 3 comes out. I might have to wait a year, which sucks. But yeah, Mbot, he's a sassy spaceship that, like, I don't know, I just like this sort of give and take between him and Spensa, and just like the other characters in the series that he interacts with. And I just, like, if I had a spaceship, I'd want a sassy one. I'd want one that sort of, doesn't take my shiz and doesn't do all this, and just, it'd be great. Okay, number 10 is a book that made you cry. Starsight by Brandon Sanderson and bought. I'm still very distraught. Just thinking about it makes me sad. Like, I'm not happy with the events of that book. Not even a little bit. Number 11 is a book that made you happy. Hands down, that has to be The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. It's just such a pretty book about, accepting who you are, finding acceptance of who you are and others, including your friends, your family, your, everything. And it was just, the illustrations are gorgeous. I like Jen Wang's illustrations. And I read it. I started at like 1 a.m. I just needed to read something before I went to bed. And I had gotten to a point in the book that I was reading that I was like, okay, I'm going to stop now, because if I continue on, I'll stay up all night. So I was like, well, I'll just start this graphic novel that I was reading for my May graphic novel. And I think I ended up staying, I think it took me like an hour and a half to read. And so, sitting in the dark, my husband is next to me snoring, and I'm just flipping bawling, just happy tears. It was just so pretty, so cute, just wonderful. I like it when humans can be humans in the way that they wish to be, in the way that they want to be, and it just makes me so happy. And that's part of the reason why J.K. Rowling is kind of not my favorite right now. Yeah. Number 12 is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received, and I have 3. This one was kind of a hard choice, and they're all blue covers, or have blue in them mostly. Let me do this without dropping everything on the floor. The first one is Nelson DeMille's Cuban Affair. I like this shade of blue. I like this kind of neon red. It's got, 3-dimensional cover, shiny. It really makes me feel like, it reminds me of Cuba. It's got that kind of, Cuba usually has these kind of pastel-y, I don't know, I like it. I mean, even if it has a little bit of damage, I bought this used, I still think it's a gorgeous cover. Next we have Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. Once again, it's a beautiful shade of blue. I like the illustrations on it. I like that it wraps around. It's just a nice looking book. And I'm excited to read it. Next we have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. Gorgeous shade of blue. I like the the foiling or whatever of the title. Once again, it wraps around. It's just a very well covered book, and I just think it's really pretty, and the book was really good too. The last of the pretty books I bought is Diane Setterfield's Once Upon a River. Gorgeous shade of blue. Love the illustrations. It's just, it makes me really want to paint. I might have to, when I do read this book, maybe try to do a gouache painting that's, reminds me of it. Sort of inspired by the cover. Because it kind of wraps around too. And it's just like a nice, I don't know, it's just, oh, I bent it, that's my bad. I just realized that the text in this book is uber bloody tiny. That's fine. I wear glasses. Let's see here, what's the next? the last one is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? All of them? No. I know that I want to try to read, or at least get started, Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings. It's like 1,100 pages long or something like that. So I want to buy a copy of it. I don't want to have to like rely on renewing it because I know it's a popular book, and I just want to be able to like have a copy that I can read when I have time, take with me, travel with me, you know, because it might take me a while. It might not. I don't know. It's a Brandon Sanderson book. I might really read it quickly, so I'm gonna probably end up purchasing myself a copy of that soon, and set a goal of like starting it in July or something. Next, I really want to read Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. It's been on my to-read list for 5 years. It was one of those books where I kept, you know, putting it on my holds list, and then for whatever reason I take it off. Like, I think I was just getting bored of waiting for it, and then just like I kept talking, just like I had so many other books and it's old and I should just read it. I just should read it. That's that. Next book I want to read by the end of the year is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I read... Oh my goodness. I cannot remember the name of the book. A previous book by him. What the fudge is that book? Every single time I record, my cat's food and water is like right next to me, and every time I record it decides to like run out of water. I don't know why. It's like one of those fountains. I just have to listen to it because I'm not getting up. My mom's done with this bloody book or bloody thing. I read, it was the one where it's like that girl who is like apartment sitting in like this apartment in New York, and it's not really what you think it is. I don't remember what it was called. All that I know is that I hated it. It's kind of amazing. Like, I read that book very quickly. I probably read that book in less than 24 hours. But I hated it. I hated the ending. I hated the main character. I hated the person who did it. I just hated all of it. It was just an awful, 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 awful book. And okay, so where were we when I got interrupted? Oh yeah, so I'm going to torture myself and read Home Before Dark to see if maybe I just don't like his books. I don't know. It's one of those things. I think I'm getting it soon. Like I said, libraries are opening up again, so things are kind of moving. And I think I'm in line for it soon, so I guess I'll read it. Next is You're Not Alone by Hendricks and Peckin. I liked, was it The Wife Between Us? I really enjoyed the way that was written. I'm hoping this one is written as well. And once again, it's one of those books, I put it on hold like back in February or January, March, I don't know. Before COVID, BC. And it's getting to the point where I'm going to get it soon, and so I'll read it. And then, of course, there's all the books I hated in school books. There's Ethan Frome, the Charles Dickens with Pip. Is that Great Expectations? I have literally no idea. Cold Sassy Tree, probably. I'm going to add Flowers for Algernon to the list, which is one of those books where I didn't necessarily dislike it, but I don't have any positive or negative memories of it, so I'm going to assume I didn't like it, so I'm going to reread that. And I think there was... I feel like there was probably 2 more. Or maybe 1 more. So yeah, I'll have to figure that out exactly. I really do feel like there was I should have at least 5 more. So we have Cold Sassy Tree, Ethan Frome, the Charles Dickens that I can't remember, Flowers for Algernon, and What? I know that there was a 5th one. Whatever it is, I'm gonna read that book too. So that's the last 6 months. Joy. I guess I am going to finally finish this video, and I'm excited that it's over. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I am. So yeah, stay safe, wash your hands, and go ride a bike.